Hey everyone, and welcome to this Dota 2 beginner's guide on the best heroes for new players updated for the latest patch. In this guide, I'll be walking you through each of the 5 positions of Dota 2, including safe lane carry, all the way to hard support. And I'll be providing you with 5 heroes that I believe fundamentally fill these roles effectively. They're also beginner-friendly heroes, and they also are heroes that are relevant in the current meta thanks to the buffs they've received in the latest patch. I should also note, and I never say this in my videos, but if you're new to Dota, I really think you should consider subscribing, and I'll tell you why. Because if this type of video is helpful for you, each and every single week, I do a video called the Dota 2 Builds of the Week, where I take a hero from each of the positions 1 through 5, and I give you updated builds, updated meta snapshots, and so if this type of video helps you, every single week I provide a consistent upgrade to this video, keeping you in check with what the meta is, providing you with new builds that you can try for heroes you're interested in trying. So I almost never say it in my videos, but if you find this type of content helpful, maybe consider subscribing, just for the builds of the week at the very least. Regardless, I'm going to be going through these builds here, and what I should also mention is down in the description below, I will provide a link to each of these heroes and this build that I'm discussing about today, which I will keep up to date as the meta progresses. So if you're interested in subscribing to the builds themselves so that you can see them in the game, in the client, so that you can actually, reference them while you're playing, you can use your Steam Workshop down below. You click the link and you subscribe to it and favorite it, and it'll be there for you in the actual game itself, okay? Now let's get started. So these are the heroes that I recommend for all new players. Now I will be going through each of these heroes individually, and when applicable, I will let you know when I have a full video guide for them, because a lot of these heroes I have full complete beginner's guides for, and I'll link them up above as well and in the description. So what I'm going to discuss here is, I'm going to give you an overview right off the bat. So in position 1 safe lane carry, you have Wraith King. Okay, he represents a hero that is relatively straightforward to play. His reincarnation, his ultimate, allows you to kind of get a second life, and he's one of the fastest farming heroes in the game. He's a really straightforward hero with a reliable gameplay style. Chaos Knight, from the position 1 standpoint, he is a hero that allows you to essentially do a ton of physical damage. He has a stun. He is an illusion-based hero, so he makes replications of himself. And the nice thing about it, unlike other kind of illusion-based heroes, he has a skill called Reality Rift, which will automatically bring all of his illusions onto one single target without you having to micro them. So if you are interested in learning an illusion-based hero, he's a great choice. He also is a hero that is excellent in the offlane currently. So if you're not sure if you want to play like safe lane or offlane, you want to be in one of the side lanes, CK Chaos Knight is a good choice because it kind of gives you a little bit of balance there. Medusa is a traditional position 1 hard carry, can also be played in the mid lane, although that's kind of greedy, but regardless, she's one of the hardest carries in Dota 2, meaning that, I hovered off her, meaning that basically she is a carry that if the game goes really long, almost nobody can stand up to her. She gets so farmed, she hits so hard, she hits multiple targets with her split shot, and quite frankly, there are very few heroes that can straight up man fight her, especially in the late game, so one of the hardest carries in Dota 2. And then you have Juggernaut. Juggernaut is one of those, he's always reliable. He's one of the most reliable heroes in Dota 2, most reliable carries in Dota 2. He's a hero that everyone turns to say, hey, if you're new to Dota and you want a reliable Dota 2 hard carry that you can always turn to and no one will ever be upset you picked him, Juggernaut's the guy, okay? And Riki. Riki is kind of a really good hero in the current patch. He also has a very unique playstyle to the others. These guys are farming heroes, okay? CK a little less so, but these guys all farm. They have very late timings. Riki has a more immediate timing. He doesn't need as much farm for his kit to be active. He's also an invisibility hero, meaning that he wanders the map invisible. The enemy team has to set up sentries in order to even see him, and he can really take advantage of people that are out of position or unprepared to deal with him. He's a really interesting hero from that perspective. He's different from the rest because let's say someone takes a Medusa mid, you can take Riki and not have to worry too much about farm because his kit doesn't require that much farm. He's a much more active hero. He's a much more fight-centric hero, okay? He's not a farmer, he's a fighter. So that's why I want to include him, because he's very unique. Alright, now in position 2 mid, each of these heroes has a very unique playstyle, and that's why I chose them, and they're all beginner relevant. So first you have Zeus. Zeus is a hero that allows you to do a ton of magical damage. He's one of the highest damage dealing heroes in the game, and he also has a very straightforward playstyle, where essentially you push waves under the mid tower, you take over the small camp, you farm the small camp, and then you essentially, farm up your items that we'll talk about shortly, and then, you know, you do tons of damage. You stay back at a distance, and that is very similar to what Sniper does. Sniper stands at a distance, pushes waves under towers, stays safe from kind of the rear side of the battlefield, and just right-clicks people. Huskar is unique because what Huskar does is he jumps right into the fight, and he takes as much damage, and the more damage he takes, right, the more damage he actually outputs. So the lower his HP, the more damage he does. He's one of the best man fighters in the game, where like very few heroes can just 1v1 a Huskar because they'll just die. They'll die before he does because of the amount of damage he does. Then you have Void Spirit. Void Spirit's interesting because Void Spirit is a hero that has a lot of mechanical complexity. So if you come from League, for example, and like you get MOBAs and like you're used to pressing the actual buttons, Void Spirit's a hero that is really reliable. He is a ton of fun, one of the most mobile mids in the entire game. And the disadvantage to him, of course, is that he's harder to play than the other four that I'm mentioning here. But he's honestly a fantastic mid hero, and one, if you have some experience in MOBAs, that you can definitely turn to. Finally, Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight can be used in both mid and the off lane. And the great thing about Dragon Knight is that he essentially allows you to... he allows you to be very tanky. He's a very reliable presence. He's not going to like solo win you a game, but he never solo loses you a game either. He's incredibly durable. He's extremely beginner friendly. He pushes objectives and towers. He has a reliable stun. He's one of those heroes that like, he's just an all-around great presence in the game. And if you're new to the game, he's really, he's supportive in the sense that he has a passive ability that gives you armor and health regeneration, which reduces the amount of times you'll get punished for being out of position and stuff like that. He's a very new player-friendly hero. In the position 3 off lane, Sand King represents an amazing hero that has a tremendous amount of damage potential and a lot of initiation. He is mechanically complex to play, but he is extremely rewarding in the sense that if you can get your combos off correctly, you can do a tremendous amount of teamfight damage. He's a team fighter, and he also is very good at defending towers and objectives thanks to his Sandstorm ability. And then you have Primal Beast. He is the newest hero added into Dota 2, and you're seeing a lot of changes in builds and stuff like that, but basically Primal Beast is an amazing laner. He has incredible stats. He can solo kill almost anyone within the first like 10 minutes of the game. He is a super powerful offlane presence, and that's what's putting him on this list. CK we talked about before. He's a good offlaner. He has a reliable stun. His stun is not as reliable, but he has a stun. He also has carry potential. He's one of those heroes that like he has an earlier timing, so he can really affect the game state from the off lane, and he has the ability to like solo win the game from the off lane. He's one of the heroes, like of these heroes, it's CK that can win you a game from the off lane, as opposed to the other ones that more set up these other safe lane carries to win. DK, as I said, a very stabilizing hero, very good for a new player because of his health and armor regeneration. He simply doesn't get punished as easily. He takes towers very effectively with his ultimate. He's just an overall good hero. Finally, Underlord has seen some changes, but he is one of the most reliable heroes in the game with regards to, contesting objectives, protecting objectives and towers. He's highly mobile with his ultimate. He's very straightforward to play. He's extremely tanky. His playstyle is relatively straightforward. You build aura items. He doesn't require that much mechanical skill. He's a very beginner-friendly hero. The disadvantage to him, however, is some people can find him a little boring to play because he's slow, he's lumbering, he's just there. He's just kind of like, he's a presence. He's not really like a micro-based hero. So he's more of a macro map hero. So some people can find him a little sleepy to play, but overall, he's an absolutely amazing hero. And if you're new to the game, he's one you should be checking out. In position 4 soft support, Treant Protector represents a great opportunity for players who like having a global presence. He is able to heal any single ally or allied structure anywhere on the map, no matter where he is. He is tanky, he is elusive thanks to his ability to run through trees. He's just a lot of fun to play, and he has a very interesting playstyle. Silencer has one of the best teamfight ultimates in the game. In Silence, he essentially pierces BKBs and all spell immunity and makes so the enemies cannot cast any spells, and he can deal a tremendous amount of damage with his abilities. Hoodwink is a fast-moving little squirrel that does a lot of damage, has a very interesting stun that basically stuns anyone who stands too close to a tree, anybody, multiple people in fact. She has a skill shot-based ultimate, which is kind of like a snipe from long distance, which breaks enemies and does a tremendous amount of damage. She's highly mobile and just a lot of fun to play. Skywrath Mage, if you want to do damage, if you just want to do as much damage as possible, Skywrath Mage is your call because He is one of the strongest burst heroes in the game. He can 100 to 0 so many enemies. He has combos that allow him to do a tremendous amount of damage. He is like, if you want to do, he's like a mage. He's a spellcaster that does a tremendous amount of damage. Almost nobody can straight up 1v1 him without a BKB, so he's very interesting from that standpoint. Clockwerk, he's fun on this list because he's basically like the, hey, I'm new to the game and I die a lot. If I die, does my team benefit from it? And Clockwerk is kind of like a hero that allows you to like go into a fight and just not come out, but still help your team. He is a initiator from the position 4. He basically dives into fights, controls enemies, and then just explodes, basically. And you itemize around that as well, which we'll talk about shortly. Now let's talk about position 5 finally. So this is the snapshot, and we'll go through each of these heroes in depth, of course. So you have Ogre Magi. He's one of the best heroes in the game. He's so fun. He's one of my favorite heroes, and I recommend him to all new players who are doing support. And also I should mention, basically these heroes, with the exception of Hoodwink, Skywrath, and Clockwerk, like Silencer and Treant can be played in position 5 as well. And all of these position 5s can be played at position 4, so if you find yourself in that situation, it's no problem. Ogre has a stun, does a lot of damage. He's just a fun hero to play. A ton of armor, a ton of HP regeneration, good laning phase. He's just a ton of fun. And then you have Lich. Lich is a spellcaster similar to Skywrath, except a little more utility for your team. Also a great teamfight ultimate in Chain Frost, where basically enemies get destroyed by a bouncing thing of frost that just basically destroys all of them. Shadow Shaman has so many control abilities. He can turn people into chickens, he can stun them from long durations, and he can even drop serpent wards that help you take towers. A very interesting hero. And then you have Omniknight. Omniknight has just surged into the meta thanks to the changes that have been made to the recent buffs he received in the patch. Omniknight's just good. He's tanky, he does a ton of healing, he has good team fight thanks to his ultimate. He's just really good right now, and he's not as beginner friendly as the others, but he's still very capable and very straightforward to play. Finally, at position 5, we have Jakiro. Jakiro is a great hero if you're interested in having a stun, which is a little harder to land. It's not as reliable. He's also a great laning presence. He can push waves, create map pressure thanks to his Q, which is he breathes fire and ice at the same time and does a tremendous amount of damage. It allows him to do AoE kind of pushing of waves. And his ultimate allows you to defend things very effectively because it basically just writes off areas of the map. He puts like a line of kind of smoldering fire down, which can basically protect any objective or tower that you want to make sure enemies can't stand near. So Jakiro is a very interesting hero from that perspective. Now that we're done the overview, I'm going to go through the builds for each of these individual heroes to give you an idea of how to actually play them. Now we're going to go through each of the heroes and their builds. Let's get started, and we're starting with the Safelane carries and Wraith King. So Wraith King is a very reliable carry. He has great carry potential. He has a stun in Wraithfire Blast. He can farm very effectively thanks to Vampiric Spirit. He can basically use his skeletons to not only push waves, but to secure kills. He can also use them to farm the jungle very effectively. And there's a combo where you summon your skeletons, and then if you Wraithfire Blast somebody, all the skeletons are attracted to whoever has been hit by the blast. So you can basically summon your skeletons and tell them, hey, sick whoever I stun, and you can do a tremendous amount of damage that way. He has a passive Mortal Strike, which allows him to do a lot of burst damage, and he gets a free life with Reincarnation. What's not to love about that? With regards to itemization, something I should mention as well is I did do a complete beginner's guide on Wraith King, so if you are interested in learning him from scratch, like complete beginner's guide, I'm going to link it up above, so check that out if you're interested. But with regards to his actual build, you're taking a value point in Wraithfire Blast, so you have a stun. You're going to take a value point in Mortal Strike, simply because it's a lot of bonus extra damage that allows you to ras effectively and last hit more effectively. But you are focusing on a Vampiric Spirit first. The reason for this is because you want to ensure that you have as many skeletons as possible so you can farm very fast. You want more skeletons so that when you go into the jungle, when you're pushing waves, you can farm faster and accelerate your mid-game timing. With regards to items, okay, you're taking a lot of stats up front. You're taking a magic stick early. I do recommend magic sticks for new players because a lot of people may not realize, but your level 6 or your ultimate does require 180 mana. And so if you don't have enough mana, you just die, and the magic stick allows you to kind of burst your health and your mana, so in the event you're getting gone on, you can actually resurrect at full health and mana again. So the magic stick is like a great insurance policy, especially in the early game for people learning Wraith King. From there, phase boots, the main reason for this is you want the movement speed. Wraith King's primary weakness is he gets kited. People just run away from him and he can't hit them, right? And that's why we go movement speed here. And then from there, right, you have two major builds that Wraith King primarily relies on. There's a Radiance build where you go after you finish your boots and everything else. These you get on, if you need them, but you finish your boots and your magic wand. And if you're going Radiance, you go Gloves of Haste into your Radiance. You need the Gloves of Haste first because it allows you to farm faster. Radiance is great against, against teams that have like a lot of right click. Right clickers like PAs and others. The reason for this is because it gives you inherent evasion. It's also a great farming item because it scorches enemies for 60 damage all around you, including the creeps. It's also a fantastic item because when you are reincarnating, like when you're dead and reincarnating, it still burns enemies nearby. And what's cool about this is Radiance has like a double impact on Wraith King because he has this omnipresence in a fight because like if he dies once, he just comes back. So he's always present, it feels like. So Radiance is a particularly valuable item. And then you go S and Y, Sanjin Yasha. It helps him to amplify the amount of lifesteal he gains from Mortal Strike, which helps to sustain him. Sorry, he gets the lifesteal from Vampiric Spirit, but Mortal Strike definitely amplifies the amount of lifesteal he gets. This is amplified by Sanjin Yasha. It also increases his movement speed as well. It gives him strength and agility, which improves how fast he can hit, how hard he can hit. It's all things he loves. And then you go Blink Daggers, so you can blink on top of people, stun them, and just basically burst them down into BKB so that you don't get controlled and stunned. Now, the other build that you can go to, and not all heroes have like two kind of like builds, but Wraith King happens to. The other build is, instead, after the early game, you get your boots, you have your wand. Instead of going the Radiance side, let's say you want an earlier timing, because Radiance is a bit of a later timing. If you want an earlier timing where you're more dominant early on, you go Armlet, okay, which has a fantastic build up. Then you go Desolator, but with these two items, you can basically just kill anybody. Nobody can really fight you when you have this timing. And then you go Blink Daggers, so you can blink on top of people, and you right-click them with your Armlet and your Desolator, and you basically do a tremendous amount of damage. The amount of health you lose from the Armlet is offset by Vampiric Spirit and Mortal Strike, and then you go BKB. Once you get to BKB on both of these, you determine from there, okay, what's my next best item? And as you gain more experience playing Dota, you start to understand, which item to build when. Generally speaking, AC is a great next item because it gives you everything you need, tons of attack attack speed, increased damage thanks to the armor reduction on buildings and enemies, and it gives you armor, which helps you to be increasingly survivable. That's Wraith King. The next hero we're talking about is Chaos Knight. Now, this applies both to Offlane and Safelane Chaos Knight. Chaos Knight's a really cool hero because he has a stun similar to Wraith King, except, it's similarly unreliable. It has a huge cast animation, so it's very easy to, like, dodge, for instance, but it's pretty cool. Reality Rift allows you to bring guys into you and kind of close gaps. Similar to Wraith King, this is actually a very similar hero. You get passive crits and lifesteal from your Chaos Strike, and he's an illusion-based hero, which allows him to do a tremendous amount of damage. So you're seeing a major difference in his actual ultimate, honestly. But regardless, CK is really interesting, and I should say, whoops, that's my guild that I just clicked on by accident. Regardless, so the way you play CK is you essentially build him like this. You're taking a value point in Chaos Bolt, a value point in Reality Rift, because you want that armor reduction. You want to be able to pull guys in, close in on them. And then you're taking Chaos Strike, because you're getting a lot of passive lifesteal, which allows you to essentially, like, keep going. Allows you to sustain the lane. And then you're taking your ultimates whenever possible. From there, you are taking as much stats as you can up front, as many gauntlets of strength. You're building towards a fast power treads into soul ring timing. You're getting increased strength and armor, and because of Chaos Strike, the amount of health you lose from the soul ring is not necessarily damaging because you heal yourself up pretty rapidly. With that being said, you are truly powerful. You can basically kill anybody in the game once you have Armlet and Power Treads. Because with this combination, what you do is you cast Chaos Bolt on an enemy, and then you Reality Rift them in. They get pulled in, they get stunned, and then you right-click them. In the combination, you cast your ultimate, and then what you do is you stun someone and pull them in, and the illusion will automatically be put on top of whoever gets Reality Rifted. From there, you go Echo Saber, which allows you to do increased burst physical damage. You also go S and Y, which is great because it amplifies your sustained healing from Chaos Strike. You basically heal for like 400 damage in the late game. Like when you hit somebody, you crit them, the amount of S and Y healing you get is absolutely insane. And then from there, your Aghanim Shard is great because it synergizes well with Chaos Bolt, gives you an additional illusion, which helps you to Reality Rift more people, into BKB and Scotty, which basically makes your guys are tanky as hell and no one can kill them. From there, extension items, again, very game dependent. This is primarily when you want to get to. If you get there, you're probably in great shape as a Chaos Knight. The next carry hero we're talking about today is Medusa. Medusa is a hero that provides a lot of carry potential. She is a hero with split shot, basically allows you to hit multiple targets. Snake allows you to basically do a tremendous amount of damage while returning mana to you, and the mana return is important because of your mana shield. She basically uses her mana as a defensive matrix, which allows her to basically sustain and stay alive. You also have Stone Gaze, which essentially allows you to turn people to stone who are looking at you and do increased physical damage, which is great with your split shot. With regards to the build, you're taking Mystic Stake early on because you want to be able to, it's a good laning skill. You want a value point in Mana Shield, and then you want Split Shot so that you can farm later on. You're not taking Split Shot early because the damage reduction really hurts you, but when you get to start farming, that's what you do. And you might be thinking, Alex, you're not taking Ultimate until level 11. Well, as a new player, you need to understand that as Medusa, you have a very late timing. You don't want to fight early, so you want to actually avoid fighting until about level 11. You want to use your Split Shot to farm as fast as possible. Even your skills. Your talents are all about farming as fast as possible. From there, once you actually get to a level 11, you have your Stone Gaze, you should have at least your Manta Style, and then you can start fighting. So you're building towards an early Wraith Band, which allows you to lane better and take more farm in the jungle. Power Treads, which is great, put them on agility. Dragonlance, which increases your range. And then finally, you have Manta Style into Eye of Skadi. Once you get Skadi, you basically become borderline unkillable. The slow effect on the shot allows you to kind of maintain people so you can continue to damage them. And your Aghanim Scepter has great synergy with Mystic Stake. It's just good. Okay, your Aghanim Scepter is just good. It's definitely an excellent item that you can go towards later in the game, which definitely benefits you quite a lot. And from there, increase your damage. Daedalus, you want to just burst guys down. You want them to go down as fast as possible, and that's what Daedalus allows you to do. That, my friends, is Medusa. The key thing on Medusa is you farm very rapidly. You try your best to delay the game as far as you can. The later the game goes, the easier you win. All right. Juggernaut. Juggernaut's a really interesting hero because what he does very well is he farms the enemy side of the map very well. So what you do is Blade Fury gives you a basic dispel, which means if you're slowed or rooted or anything like that, it gets rid of that. And it also makes you spell immune, so nobody can stun you. Well, there's some stuns that pierce spell immunity. You need to be aware of that. But most, like Ogre Magi stun, for instance, doesn't. So you could actually spin and then TP to a safer location if the enemies go on top of you. He has great team fight potential in Healing Ward. He allows your team to kind of sustain behind objectives, sustain in Roshan pits. It gives them added sustain, so like if you're having a rough lane and you're taking a lot of damage, you can Healing Ward and kind of sustain yourself. Passive crit. A lot of these guys have a lot of passive crits actually, and Omni Slash, which is just fun to play. You basically solo kill any single enemy as long as they're not within like range of like creeps or other kind of mobs or neutrals, which then you can just bounce to them accidentally. If an enemy's by themselves, you Omni Slash them, or if you're against other enemies as well. As long as you're hitting heroes, Omni Slash is great. With regards to the actual build, again, you're focusing on Blade Fury early because it doesn't scale particularly well, and that's why your talents, you'll notice, they all scale Blade Fury, okay? And then, so early on, it's a great skill, but it kind of teeters off in the late game. The other side is you want to take a value point in Healing Ward because you never know when you need to just heal under your tower. Blade Dance just provides you with a lot of added, like extra 20% critical chance for 1 point's worth it, but you max that last. Omni Slash when you can. Very straightforward carry to play. You're taking as many stats as you can up front. You're building a Wraith Band to help secure your lane. Phase Boots, because when you spin with Blade Fury, you can Phase Boots to get on top of somebody. And then what you do is you build Maelstrom. Now, Maelstrom is often the choice. Okay, Maelstrom, if you want to be more active in the game, you could replace Maelstrom with a Battle Fury if you have a mid that's not a farmer and you are like the farming carry of the game and you think the game's going to go late. But if you think you want to be more active, Maelstrom's a better choice, and Maelstrom actually helps you farm as well, just not as much as a Battle Fury. Manta Style is great as well because it allows you to basically, it gives you a ton of agility, it gives you an additional dispel, so you're harder to deal with in target, and overall, the extra mirror images amplify the amount of damage potential you have as well. Finally, your Aghanim Shard, which is a great item, which basically allows you to basically do damage, attack damage through Blade Fury. When you add all these together, the Aghanim's Shard with these talents really amplify your ability to do damage during Blade Fury, and it can be very particularly valuable. And from there, your Aghanim Scepter, which gives you a mini Omni Slash, which you can then initiate on a small cooldown, I should add, which allows you to blink into someone, do a mini Omni Slash, and then do a full Omni Slash as well. Omni Slash's cooldown is 130 seconds. The mini Omni Slash is significantly lower, and that's why Agnum Scepter is valuable. And then you have the Bash, which can proc on Omni Slashes and the mini Omni Slash, and on the right clicks from Blade Fury with your shards. So basically, it's a great item to go. And then finally, you go Swift Blink, which you blink onto a target, you get all the bonus agility, and then when you Omni Slash and Swift Slash, you just attack that much faster. And then from here, you could actually build a Abyssal Blade. If you want Maelstrom, you can build a Mjolnir. There's a lot of different opportunities for Juggernaut, but overall, he's an excellent hero to play, and one, especially if you're new to the carry role. Finally, we're talking about Riki. Now, once again, Riki is more of like, he's a fighter if you want to be a little more active. You don't want to farm, you want to fight, and that's what Riki does. He does it very well. And the way he does it is he essentially uses this skill build. You're taking Blink Strike early on because you can do a lot of damage. You're taking a few value points in Trick of the Trade and a value point of Smokescreen at 8. The key thing about Riki to understand is that Smokescreen allows you to basically not only silence somebody, but if someone is fighting, like if someone's trying to right-click you, it creates a miss rate chance in the cloud, right? So if you're man-fighting someone, right-clicking and right-clicking, cast your Smokescreen because they're going to miss attacks on you. It's free evasion. Blink Strike allows you, it pierces spell immunity. It can also be used on allies to get like into, if you want to get away from somebody, you can Blink Strike an ally, which allows you to escape. Tricks of the Trade, it's a little less reliable because you can't really control who you're hitting. Cloak and Dagger makes him invisible, but also amplifies the amount of damage he does with agility-based items. The more agility he has, the more damage he does, which is why you build all agility-based items. Because he is a fighter, you actually want to go double Wraith Band. Now, you could go just a single Wraith Band, but like Riki doesn't build a lot of items. He builds a lot of small items that help him in very specific ways. His kit works without a lot of items. Of course, like if you get tons of items, you're super farmed. He does lots of damage, but his kit doesn't really need it. Double Wraith Band, you get the added agility, and after 25 minutes, it gets doubled. You also get your power treads on agility treads, and you get Diffusal Blade. Now, Riki is a terrible farmer. Unlike Wraith King, he can't really go into the jungle and farm. That means that you have to be active with your fights, but you need to farm until Diffusal Blade. You really cannot fight until you have Diffusal Blade. Once you have Diffusal Blade, you're going on enemies, you're killing guys, you're getting on supports, and you're taking them down. The combo is you Blink Strike on somebody, you diffuse them, you Smokescreen them. So they're super slow, they can't really move, they're Smokescreened, right? And the reason why you do it in that order is because when you Blink Strike, they actually are immediately slowed. They have like a slow duration of just under a second. So Blink, Smoke, Diffusal. And that makes it so that they can't escape the smoke, they can't cast spells, they can cast Force Staffs, but they can't do anything else. So they're stuck in the smoke, they can't cast spells, and they just die. The Agnum Shard allows you to put guys to sleep, which helps it helps cancel like abilities, channels, it helps set up fights, stuff like that. And finally, Manta Style is important, not only because of the agility, but because of the basic Dispel. You're an invisibility hero. People are going to buy dust. When they reveal you, you're slowed and they can see you and they just kill you. You're a small little weak little Riki. So when you get revealed by dust, you cast your Manta, which dispels the dust, which makes you invisible again. And they can't see you and you get to get away. Okay? That is how you play Riki. Alright, now we're talking about position 2 mid lane. So with mid lane, we're starting with Zeus. Zeus is a hero that is really interesting because of the amount of damage potential he has. He does an absolutely tremendous amount of damage. He does it through his Arc Lightning, which allows you to basically do damage to multiple enemies, but specifically allows you to push waves very effectively. He also has a mini stun and Lightning Bolt, so you cast Lightning Bolt and Arc Lightning together. You're doing a tremendous amount of damage. His Heavenly Jump is newly added to the game. It's pretty interesting. It allows him to kind of escape a little bit, gives him a little bit of maneuverability, especially if he's being chased by somebody, because they get slowed by movement speed and they get attack speed slowed as well. So it allows him to kind of like move around a little more effectively. It makes him a little more survivable. His Thunder God's Wrath allows you to kill almost anybody on the map. And of course, one thing I should mention, and we'll talk about it in the actual guide itself, is that Zeus requires the use of his, it's not, why is it not here? Why am I, here it is. Let's go. Where is it? Oh, Static Field, yes. Static Field's super important, and you get Static Field by buying the Shard. And Static Field is so important. It amounts to so much damage. And that is why you need to buy the Shard at 15 minutes if you're going Zeus. 15-minute Shard, you have to buy it. It's the only way you can play Zeus. So basically, the way the build-up works is you're taking some regeneration and stuff in lane. You need the clarities because you're casting Arc Lightning. So what you do is you're in mid lane, You're last hitting with Arc Lightning. You're pushing your wave under their tower, so you're pinning them back. In most games, you actually want to control the lane equilibrium. With Zeus and Sniper specifically, you push the lane into their tower. And then what you do is you farm the small camp on the side with Arc Lightning as well, using the regeneration as you can. You're getting a fast bottle because you need the regeneration. You're going Arcane Boots into Aether Lens, and you're disassembling the Arcane Boots because you get the mana booster, and you build it into Aether Lens. From there, you build the shard ASAP at 15 minutes. Why? Because once again, this static field, which is basically granted by the shard, does so much damage. Anybody that gets hit by damaged attacks or abilities get 9% of their health damaged. When you think about Arc Lightning's bounce, it's a tremendous amount of damage. It's an insane amount of damage. You have to have it, okay? Regardless of that, you build into Aghanim Scepter, which gives him his added ability, which is Nimbus, which basically creates an area of effect, which is casting his Lightning Bolt. It can be used to split waves. It can be used to scout. It can be used in team fights. It's a great item. From there, you're building Boots of Travel. Why? Because you need the mobility to stay alive. You have to be able to move through the fight. And once again, you can only build Boots of Travel if you have disassembled the Arcane Boots to build your Aether Lens, because then you are left with your brown boots, which then you build into Boots of Travel, which also allows you to move effectively around the map as well. You finally build your Octarine Core, which reduces your cast times, your cooldowns, which is great because you just want to be spamming spells as a Zeus. And finally, your Refresh Orb, so that you can kind of cast multiple Thunder Gods Wraths and multiple Nimbuses. Outside of that, Zeus is all about doing as much damage as you can. The major thing about Zeus in the current meta is you got to make sure you get this Aghanim Shard ASAP, or else it becomes very difficult to play. I should also mention that I actually did a complete beginner's guide on Zeus, so if you need to learn Zeus from the ground up, I'll link it up above. All right, perfect. Let's move on to the next hero. The next hero is Sniper. Sniper is a hero that has a very interesting kit. He does a lot of damage from far away, and the disadvantage of that, though, is if anybody gets on top of him, he basically just dies. He's extremely soft and squishy, but if he's left alone without being initiated on, he basically can right-click anybody to death. With that being said, here's how you play Sniper. Very similar to Zeus, he has a very similar playstyle. You're taking a value point in headshots simply so that you can kind of utilize the percentage chances for bonus damage and for knockback if you have to fight. Then you're taking Shrapnel. You're focusing it on getting Shrapnel as much as you can outside of the value point and take aim and headshot. Why? Because you want to do as much damage to the waves as you can, push them under the enemy's tower, farm the small camp, and be effective. You want to accelerate your farm as a mid-sniper. From there, everything you take on talents is regarding right-click damage. All your itemization is about taking right-click damage, double Wraith Band, Power Treads, Dragonlance, which allows you to target attack from faster, Desolator, which basically allows you to hit harder because you do a tremendous amount of physical damage. And because headshot's actually physical, a lot of people don't realize that. It's physical damage. Take aim amplifies the physical damage being done by headshot. Magical damage on Shrapnel and Assassinate. But the amount of physical damage you do is benefited from your Desolator. It also allows you to take buildings very rapidly. Hurricane Pike is the next necessary build, because if you are initiated on top, you activate your Hurricane Pike and it separates you from the enemy, okay? It allows you to get some free shots in. And Silver's Edge, because invisibility is invincibility if they don't have detection. It allows you to get away. It also gives you an immensely powerful initial critical strike when you break your invisibility, and gives you a passive critical strike chance as well. From there, common builds, you can actually skip a Deso if you want and go Maelstrom Mjolnir. That's very common on Sniper as well because of his attack speed. You basically spread lightning everywhere. MKB for against a PA or a Wind Ranger or someone with a kind of a passive evasion, but then again, Silver's Edge kind of fixes anyways. If you're against right clickers, butterflies, Scotty helps you to be more tanky, but specifically allows you to kind of slow enemies down and stay on top of them. Okay, let's move on. Huskar. Huskar is a hero that's interesting because he kind of comes in and out of the meta, and he's in right now, which is great. So let's talk about how you play Huskar. Now, Huskar is one of those heroes that has a relatively straightforward playstyle. You're building stats, but you're rushing Armlet. Why are you rushing Armlet? Because once you get Armlet and you have Burning Spear stacks and you get your ultimate at 6, you can basically jump on top of guys and just murder them, okay? With that being said, you're going Brown Boots. You're not finishing your boots quite yet. Brown Boots into Heaven's Halberd. Now, why is Heaven's Halberd so good on Huskar? Well, the reason for this is because it gives him evasion, which is good because as he gets really low HP, you don't want him to die. You want him to actually hover at low HP because of the amount of damage he does with his Berserker's Blood. Okay? He gets added magic resistance. He gets additional regeneration. He gets more attack speed, which is the important part, which basically stacks your Burning Spear. So the lower the health he is at, the better he is doing damage. Life Break basically does self-damage, which allows you to do an increased amount of damage with Berserker's Blood. But you don't want to just Life Break and die. So the Heaven's Halberd helps to sustain you, and that's why it's so important. From there, BKB, so you can't get bursted down. So like, you know, a Necrophos can't ult you or something like that when you ult. Because when you Life Break and you're using Berserker's Blood, you're vulnerable to like Skywraths and heroes that can just burst you down so you die, essentially, right? His Aghanims is a great item as well, and his Shard's fantastic as well. That's the general buildup on him. If you go Aghs Shard, you probably want to get a Blade Mail. Possibly that's kind of in and out of the meta. SNY is really cool on him as well. Deso really amplifies his amount of damage. Just bear in mind that Burning Spears is actually magical damage, which is important to understand. But most importantly, his Inner Fire, especially when comboed with his Shard, is a tremendous disable. It's a tremendous disable. It's absolutely one of the best disables in the game. With regards to straight up man fighting, I shouldn't say that, but anyways, a really interesting hero from mid. Okay, Void Spirit. Void Spirit, as I mentioned in the kind of quick summary here, he's a hero that does a lot of different things, but he focuses in on magical damage and mobility. He punishes heroes that are out of position, and he is one of the more complex mids to play, but he's also extremely rewarding. Let's talk about how to play Void Spirit. So Void Spirit, first thing you have to understand is you are taking Resonant Pulse. This is his primary laning mechanic. You're getting base shield absorption, and depending on how many heroes you hit, and that extra base absorption is really important because it allows you to effectively trade in the laning stage. You also have the Aether Remnant, which allows you to punish enemies out of position, helps you secure runes, and overall it's just a good like skill to have. You're seeing that he's all about taking value points and dissimulate, which allows you to be extremely mobile, can be used as an escape or as an initiation, but you're focusing it on Resonant Pulse early on. Astral Step can be used as both an initiation and as an escape because it allows you to rapidly move through periods of space. One thing worth noting about Astral Step, it does provide a movement slow, and the damage is a burst damage afterwards. So it's important that you don't just like double tap your Astral Step, go Astral Step, Astral Step. It's important you Astral Step, right click, and then as it bursts and the slow is dispelled, then you Astral Step again. It's important that you actually kind of use your spells appropriately, and Astral Step is one of the ones that is important to use. Also note, it pierces spell immunity. With Void Spirit, because of his mobility, you are going a bottle, something you generally don't do on someone like a sniper. You're going a bottle into double null talisman, and then what you want is a Yule's Scepter of Divinity for two very specific reasons. One, Yule's Scepters of Divinity, it allows you to send someone in the air and set them up with an Aether Remnant. So they come down and you suck them in. The other side to that is you want to ensure, actually, you know what, I'll demonstrate that quickly. So because it's a more complicated hero, so I'll show you how to do this. So if you are utilizing the Void Spirit Yule's Scepter, this is how it looks. So come on, give me my thing here. So we'll take this here. We'll take Aether Remnant. We'll throw an enemy hero here. So we got a CK. So usually you have to like aim this, right? And if you throw it out, he can just dodge it. Well, in that case, I moved into it. But the idea here is that you can essentially dodge it, right? And that's a good stun. It's like a good skill to use. So what you do instead is you actually cast your Yule's Scepter, right? You cast the Yule's Scepter and you do this. And when they land on it. You see what I mean? So it's very important to understand that what you can do is you can create a situation where the guys can do nothing but actually get pulled in by the Aether Remnant. That's what that combination does. The other important thing about it is that it actually acts as a silence removal as well. It's a basic dispel. So if you're against heroes that can silence you, like if you're silenced as a Void Spirit, you're dead. Look at this. He's talking over me. You have 4 active spells. You have to be able to cast your spells. If you're silenced, you just die. So being able to dispel silences is super important. The other side is Kaya Sanj, which gives him mana, it gives him spell amplification, mana regen amplification, which he needs, intelligence and strength, which improves his tank ability, and it gives him status resistance. So that's all very important for Void Spirit. Into Aghanim Scepter. Important. Why? Because you're doing spell amplification, and the Aghanim Scepter gives you 2 resonant pulses, which also silence. So now you're silencing them. They want to silence you, you're silencing them. Into his Aghanim Shard, which basically makes Dissimulate an even better spell. And finally, Lincoln Sphere, so you can't be focused or targeted in particular. With that being said, Void Spirit is a much more complex hero to play from like when you compare him to like Zeus, Sniper, Huskar, Dragon Knight. Like this guy is really complex to play comparatively, but overall, like having a good game on Void feels so good, guys. He's an amazing hero that I really recommend. If you want to test yourself, he's the guy to go. And then you have Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight is an absolutely fantastic hero if you are interested in kind of like learning the ropes of mid and off lane. You're not sure which one you like, but you want a hero that you can practice both. And I actually provide because of this, I actually provide in the beginner's guide here, I provide a complete kind of breakdown depending on what situation. If you're mid, here's your items. Offlane against magical, offlane against physical, here are your items, right? I should also note, I did a full beginner's guide on Dragon Knight, which I'll link up above. So if you're interested in learning him completely from scratch, I got you, okay? With that being said, how do you play Dragon Knight? Well, in this case, we're building more of like a utilitarian build. You're going to be focusing on being as tanky as possible, team fight damage reduction, tank ability again with your Dragon's Blood armor and regen. Again, because you're relatively new to the game, this build is designed for that. You're focusing it on Dragon's Blood early, which allows you to essentially get additional regeneration and armor, makes you more survivable. So if you make mistakes, you're out of position, you're less likely to get punished. You want a value point in your stun. It is an extremely long stun, which is very valuable. And your Breathe Fire to allow you to kind of secure range creeps and stuff like that. Your Elder Dragon form you want to use every single time you have it, you pop it and you're hitting a tower. You want to take towers with it. It is one of the best high ground pushers in the game. He's one of the best tower takers in the game because the corrosive kind of like damage tick will apply to towers. So get a value hit on the tower, clear the wave, continue hitting the tower. Dragon Knight will take towers. With regards to the builds, let me just talk about it quickly. Again, so if you're mid, you want to build Bracer into Soul Ring and Power Treads. That's consistent with everybody. And then mid, S and Y, which improves your attack speed, your tank ability, and your health regeneration. Blink daggers, so you can blink and stun people as an initiation. Your shard, which is valuable in all the builds. The shard allows you to effectively push waves and team fight effectively because of the amount of damage. His shard damage. He basically creates a burning area of flames, which does damage over time to anybody standing in it, which synergizes very well with the stun because while they're stunned, they can't move. BKB, valuable for him on every point because if he gets stunned and controlled, he has a very hard time. AC as a mid because you farm very quickly. As a mid, you're going to have a level advantage, and this allows you to be basically someone that enables your offlane and your safe lane to do a tremendous amount of damage, and yourself, of course, as well. If you're against a magical lineup, of course, you want to get Pipe of Insight to help offset the amount of magical damage that your enemies are doing. Physical lineups, you want Crimson Guard to offset the amount of physical damage, and a Heaven's Halberd to increase your survivability, but also to disarm the enemy carry. From there, on other notable items, Vlad's is pretty cool on him. His Ags is like greedy. It basically makes his Elder Dragon form even better, but kind of expensive. Overwhelming Blink you only buy if like you're 6 slotted, you have a Blink Dagger, and you're gonna have a Blink Dagger, and like you don't know what else to buy and you're rich, you buy this. And finally, Lotus Orb, which provides him with a Dispel and an additional armor and an ability to reflect casted spells off him or off allies as well. Overall, Dragon Knight is a lot of fun to play. He is a great beginner hero and one you should be playing in the offlane as well. Alright, and now we're talking about position 3 offlane, and we're starting with Sand King. Sand King is a teamfight initiator with a stun and the ability to defend towers with his Sandstorm. I also did a complete beginner's guide on Sand King, which I'll link up above. So if you're interested in learning him from scratch, I got you. Because he's actually pretty mechanically challenging. I know I have him number 1 on the list, if you're going to count that as like an ordering. He actually is one of the harder offlaners to play. But he is very strong in the current meta. And that's where like I kind of like weighed, well, he's super meta relevant right now, so maybe we'll lean him a little further. And I know you guys like challenges, right? You like challenges. But anyways, so offlane Sand King. Now this beginner's guide is for people that are brand new and they don't know what to do. But there's some complexity to him because if you're against a lane with like an Ogre Magi and an Anti-Mage, heroes that are both melee, you actually want to focus on Cossack Finale. The reason for this is because it makes it very hard for them to step in the lane without you blowing everything up around them and doing a tremendous amount of damage to them. If you are against ranged heroes, you probably want your Burrow Strike Sandstorm, which I've kind of shown here, because it allows you to have a stun as initiation. If you have a chance to kill him, you can. But most importantly, Sandstorm creates a situation where you can push the waves in, take neutral camps, cut waves effectively, and protect yourself, which is important in Sandstorm, okay? But if you're against melees, you want to focus in on the Cossack Finale, otherwise focus on Sandstorm. With that being said, there are 2 primary ways to play Sand King, and I have both item progressions listed below. So first, Double Bracer, which is basically kind of cool right now because of the buff they made to Bracer in the current patch. And then you have Arcane Boots into Aghanim's Scepter. Now, I know when you watch pros play, you see them go the second item build, where they go the Vanguard starting with the Ring of Health into Vanguard into Blink Dagger. Why, Alex, are there 2 item builds? Well, because if you're brand new to Dota 2 and you're brand new to Sand King, I actually recommend you do the first one, item progression 1. You're going to be tankier because you're Bracer. You're going to have a better laning stage because you're Bracer. I mean, Vanguard secures your laning stage too, so I should correct myself. Like, these are both very strong laning items. However, what you're doing here is your Arcane Boots are very valuable, and most importantly, your Agnum's Scepter cannot be canceled. So that means that when you want to initiate your ultimate, so Epicenter needs to be channeled, which means that you have to start Epicenter, and then once it begins, you Burrow Strike or Blink onto the enemies. You don't want to do the other way around. You don't want to Burrow Strike and then begin channeling your Epicenter, because for the few seconds it takes for you to get your Epicenter going, the 2 seconds, they're just going to stun you or kill you. What you want to do is you want to start casting your Epicenter, and then you want to initiate with your Burrow Strike. And I cover this completely in my beginner's guide. So if you're a little confused, definitely watch my beginner's guide if you want to play Sand King. The nice thing about the Agnum Scepter is, unlike a Blink Dagger, if you take any damage, you can still... So if you're casting Epicenter and then you Burrow Strike, you can impact the team fight. But if you're casting Epicenter and you take incidental damage, like you get hit by like an AoE spell, suddenly your Blink Dagger goes on cooldown, you're casting your ultimate ability, and you're like, oh no, and you're just trying to run to the fight and your initiation's ruined. So Sand King can be tricky like that. That's why I often recommend that people go Agnum Scepter first, because it's an initiation. It increases the range of your Burrow Strike initiation, while also casting Cosmic Finale on those hit. So it actually acts like a free Blink Dagger. The disadvantage to it, however, is that with Blink Dagger, you can Epicenter, Blink in, and then Burrow Strike to keep people in the radius of the Epicenter and the Sandstorm, okay? That's why it's better for players who are more experienced. But for you guys, definitely experience this. Now, with that being said, you do need a Lotus Orb and a Eul Scepter in either of the builds. Why is that, Alex? Well, because you need to be able to dispel invisibility, like the dust. You're an invisible hero. When you're in Sandstorm, you're invisible. If people dust you, you can dispel it with Lotus Orb, and you can dispel it with Eul Scepter Divinity, which allows you to sustain and stay alive. Overall, he has a lot of complexity as a hero, but Sand King is a really interesting hero to play, a really good offlaner, and one that is definitely worth checking out. Now, a brand new hero to Dota, Primal Beast. He's ugly as hell, but he is an absolutely insane laner, and this is the current build that people are going. Once again, the build you're seeing very often is the double bracer build, because of it's the new hotness, okay? Double these bracers and all talismans. It's popular right now because of the 25-minute buff. But anyways, basically what you're doing is you're taking a value point in Uproar, which gives you base armor and damage based on how much stacks you possess. And when he lets out like a roar, he lets out like a small roar to let you know that he's at max stacks, and then you just hit the button and you utilize your skill. It's trample though. You uproar and then you trample, and the amount of damage you get from uproar is applied to the trample as well, and you basically just kill dudes. You boom, 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 you walk in, you destroy them, and you get a free lane. Primal Beast does not lose his laning stage. He's one of the strongest offlaners in the game. And this is this setup. You want a value point in Onslaught just so you can chase guys down and initiate, but you're really taking trample early on so you can do as much damage. And I mean, this year, there's a lot of like flexibility in his build, but realistically, you want to be as tanky as possible as an offlane initiator. From there, you're taking phase boots, which allows him to initiate better, move faster, additional armor, more damage, which all benefits trample. Soul Ring, because, well, he does not have a big mana pool. BKB is important because you need to be able to cast your spells. He's a hero that if he gets controlled, he basically just does nothing in the fight. All of his, like, trample, onslaught, and pulverize his ultimate, which basically just, like, power bombs a guy over and over again. If you're stunned, or if you get stunned during the channeling of these abilities, like, you're just useless. So BKB allows you to team fight. And finally, Blink Dagger is important because you blink onto guys with Pulverize, which only has a 24-second cooldown. You blink, you pulverize guys as a team fight initiation, and then you trample everyone all around you. Okay? Really interesting. And finally, Kaya Sanj. Status resistance is important because he's so big, he just gets targeted by all the stuns. And also, it allows you to do additional spell amplification because what you might not realize, other than Onslaught, Trample is magical. Okay, Uproar is, well, it's physical. It's basically, it amplifies the damage. But Pulverize is also magical. So you're getting a lot of extra damage from Trample and Pulverize, and do not underestimate the amount of damage that Trample can do. And his Agnum Shard is basically just a value stun. Overall, Primal Beast, a very interesting hero from an offlane perspective. Really tanky, a good laner. We talked about CK already. CK can be played from the offlane perspective, simply because he has a very early power spike. Once you get your and I'll go quickly here because we talked about it in the position 1. Basically, you're getting your power treads into armlet. Once you get those 2 items, you're strong. You're focusing in on the stun, the reality rift, and then you're focusing in on the chaos strike. The difference here is that at position 1, you're going to farm more. Position 3, you're going to utilize your ultimate to kind of push the side lanes and create map pressure to give your farmer, not farmer, but your position 1 and 2 more space on the map. You're playing the role of creating map pressure, okay? So you use your ultimate, you push lanes while you farm and increase your mid-game timing. The itemization is still the same. Echo Saber after your armlet into S and Y so you can sustain the extra the stun cast range and the extra illusion from your shard with the Chaos Bolt. Finally, BKB into Scotty. It's the same build-up. You could consider going extra strength as a offlaner so that you can be more of a frontliner. CK is actually not a great frontliner. Some people might think he is as a strength hero. He's not. You actually want to kite around a little bit because if you just initiate, your Phantasm and your illusions just get exploded because they take 325 additional damage and they actually deal your full damage set. So you want them to survive. So he's a bit of an awkward initiator at times. That's kind of the disadvantage of him being an offlaner, but he does an insane amount of damage, can solo carry from the offlane. So CK, absolutely wonderful. Dragon Knight, we spoke about earlier in position 2. Dragon Knight is a great offlaner. He's actually more commonly played in the offlane, honestly, because of how tankable he is. You're taking all tank talents here with his abilities. Dragon's Blood gives him natural tank ability. S and Y improves his sustain capabilities. And when you're in the offlane, again, you're building your Heaven's Halberd. You're building S and Y. You're building these shards, which does a tremendous amount of damage. Most importantly, defensive items like Pipe, Crimson, which allow your teams to fight into difficult lineups, and you're initiating with a blink dagger. You blink in, you Dragon Tail guys, and remember, if you blink in with your Elder Dragon's form, you can actually Dragon Tail from a distance, which is valuable as well. So Dragon Knight, very important as well, and as I said prior, I did do a full complete beginner's guide on Dragon Knight, which I'll link up above so you can watch it if you need to check that out. It's very helpful. Let's continue. Underlord, our boy Underlord. Now, Underlord's a great hero for beginners because he's super tanky. He's an aura builder. He's very difficult to punish thanks to the way the kit works. Let's talk about him. So, Underlord, a really cool hero. All right. I did do a complete beginner's guide on Underlord, by the way. I'll link it above. I've been saying that a lot, haven't I? But anyways, I did do a full guide on him. So, the way you play Underlord. Okay, this current iteration revolves around focusing in on Firestorm because you are building your late game shard, which basically allows you to basically have extreme uptime on your Firestorm, which does so much damage. People really underestimate how much Firestorm damage does, by the way. But the key thing about Underlord is you use Firestorm so that people don't want to fight into you. If they're standing in Firestorm, they die. Your Pit of Malice allows you to cancel TPs and control and just control areas of the map, which is super important. Atrophy Aura is like a counter to enemy carries, and Fiend's Gate allows you and your team to be very mobile. That being said, early game, you're building a Vanguard. You want to be tanky as hell. You want to take that early tower. You want to be a nuisance. You want to cut waves. You want to take their stacks. And Vanguard allows you to be borderline unkillable. Soul Ring, you have almost no mana. And your Vanguard regeneration allows you to basically utilize your Soul Ring without worrying about it. You're going Boots of Speed into Arcane Boots, which basically solve your mana problems. From there, you're building Crimson Guard and Pipe of Insight, prioritizing whatever one that you want depending on the game situation. Now, if you're against like almost no magic dealers, then just don't build the Pipe. If you have almost no physical damage, if you're against almost no physical damage, don't build the Crimson Guard. But as an aura carrying hero, both these heroes have a lot of utility, and for new players, it's often good to build both, just so you get used to it, and then you can start like modifying your build as you get more comfortable with the hero. Again, his Agnum Shard is very valuable. It gives him complete uptime, especially with the talents we're taking here. And then you build Guardian Greaves, which basically make him and his whole team extremely tanky and difficult to kill, into AC, which again, makes his whole team hard to kill and makes him even tankier. With that being said, he has a ton of items that can be selected based on the game situation. Mainly Shiva's Guard. If you're against enemy carries that are right-clicking like crazy, like PAs, Faceless Voids and stuff like that, Shiva's Guard's great because it creates that aura, which allows him to slow down their attacks, their heals, and just overall makes them very difficult. Makes it very difficult to play into someone like an Underlord. Makes them even tankier with the armor as well, especially when you have stuff like Guardian Greaves and Shiva's Guard. Overall, Underlord is a very beginner-friendly hero. He has some nuance to how to play him, but the key thing is make it so that enemies can't fight into your Firestorm. Make it so that if they try and man fight you, they die, because you're firestorming on top of yourself, and you're making it so that if they want to get last hits or if they want a team fight, right, they're going to have to stand in your firestorm. With that being said, he's also an amazing objective defender. Firestorm, Pit of Malice, and Fiend's Gate allows you to be extremely mobile on the map. If someone's taking a tower, TP there, firestorm that area, and it basically nullifies their advance. So he is great at stalling out the game. He's great at stalling out enemy advancement on objectives, so be sure to do that in your games. All right, now we're talking about the position 4 soft support heroes, and we're beginning with Treant Protector. Treant Protector is a really awesome hero because, as I said prior, he is extremely durable, he's elusive through the trees, he likes to talk apparently, and he has a lot of slows and teamfight utility in one of the best teamfight ultimates in the game, in Overgrowth, which pierces magical immunity and roots everyone in place for a long duration while doing damage per second. An excellent ability. When we actually talk about his skill build, there's some variation, and it's one of those things where, like, as you become more experienced with someone like Treant Protector, you'll start to get more comfortable with different variations of his build. But if you're new to the game, I recommend this here. A value point in Nature's Grasp. This will allow you to utilize his slow and to kind of like zone off areas of the lane during the laning stage very effectively, especially when you consider you can create a diagonal line for Nature's Grasp. Then you utilize your Orb of Venom to slow them and prevent them from moving and allowing your carry or your offlaner to actually smoke them. So that's kind of the idea there behind him. And then you get Leech Seed. And then it also increases the slow with level 1 and 2. And it does damage per second while healing. So that's absolutely fantastic. And what you end up getting is between the first 3 levels here with your Orb of Venom, you have a tremendously powerful laning companion that can trade very effectively in the lane. From there, what you're doing is you're focusing in on your Living Armor, which is your global heal and armor generation talent. And that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to heal your allies, heal structures, stuff like that globally. And it's a great skill that really scales well, and especially considering that we're going to take those opportunities to get to upgrade it through the talent tree, while also increasing it at level 8 as well. With that being said, main item progression, again, we're starting with the Orb of Venom. You're taking regen into the lane. You're taking a magic stick as well, because it eventually does build into the Holy Locket. You're focusing in on Arcane Boots, which you can theoretically disassemble to complete the Holy Locket later, but you're focusing on the Meteor Hammer. And the nice thing about Meteor Hammer is it gives Treant Protector the opportunity to take objectives from the tree line. While you're invisible in the tree line, you can actually channel this Meteor Hammer ability and drop it onto waves. You can drop it onto buildings, and it does a tremendous amount of utility. Not to mention, it also synergizes very well with Overgrowth, where you can Overgrowth and then channel the Meteor Hammer if you want. You have them locked in place, and then you drop the Meteor Hammer stun on top of them as well. And of course, you can just Meteor Hammer in team fights from the tree line, which is great. Finally, the Holy Locket amplifies the amount of healing you do through Leech Seed and Living Armor, while also providing some health regeneration and some health and mana as well. With that being said, Blink Dagger is fantastic as well as a final item, because you can blink into Overgrowth as a key form of teamfight initiation. From there, you can also complete your Tranquil Boots. If you disassemble the Arcane Boots to finish your Holy Locket, you can make some Tranquil Boots, Force Staffs, and other support items as necessary through the game. That's Treant Protector. Let's move on to the next position, number 4, and that's Silencer. Now, position 4 Silencer, again, position 4 Silencer and Treant can also be played in position 5 roles. I did mention that prior. But the thing about Silencer that's important to understand is that Silencer is one of those heroes that does a tremendous amount of damage, and he has some nuance to the way he's played, so it's important we understand that. Let's talk about his skill build and his general principles. Now, first off, you are taking a value point in Glaives of Wisdom. The reason for this is because you are getting some intelligence steal when an enemy dies within its range. That's beneficial, but the major point of Glaives of Wisdom is that you can cast it as like you hit W and you click on an enemy, and it won't pull creep aggro. And the reason why that's important is it allows you to freely trade into your enemy and harass them without actually taking the attention of creeps, which can kill you early on. From there, you're taking a value point in Last Word because of the sheer amount of damage and silence that it does, and then you're focusing in on maxing out Arcane Curse, which is an area effect, slow, and damage over time. From there, you are taking your Global Silence, one of the most valuable ultimates in the game. It's very important that you remember, though, that this does pierce spell immunity. So if like an Enigma with a BKB is black holing, or anybody's channeling a spell through BKB, you can actually pierce that and silence them and cancel all channels. From there, it's important that we understand that we do take all the Arcane Curse talents in order to kind of like maximize the amount of damage Arcane Curse does. We take the global cooldown silence as well, reduction I should say, and we get the last word mutes as well, because what you're doing is you are building towards an Agnum Scepter, which makes your last word ability, this one here, which is traditionally single target, it turns it into an AoE, which allows you to cast both Arcane Curse and Last Word in an AoE, stack them on top of each other, and while they're silenced, they actually refresh the duration of Arcane Curse, which effectively doubles the amount of damage it can do over time, not to mention the amount of damage that Last Word does in and of itself. So, with Silencer, effectively what you're doing is you're building towards magic damage with Veil of Discord, you're sustaining your laning presence with Ring of Basilius to make sure you get, you know, enough mana to actually cast your spells, but really the major timing where you are an absolute monster is Agnum Scepter. It's like your primary build. If you're playing position 5, it's unlikely you get to Agnum Scepter. You're more likely to finish Force Staff, Glimmer, or something along those lines. Even a Solar Crest is good if you have a right-clicking carry. But overall, it's very important that you understand that as a silencer, what your key goal is you want to get to this Agnum Scepter timing, and you want to stack the Arcane Curse with Last Word. You cast Arcane Curse first, and then you cast Last Word, so that when the silence is popped, Arcane Curse is then refreshed. It's important you do it in that order. You can even go a step further by casting Arcane Curse, then Last Word, then Arcane Curse again, and just before Arcane Curse expires, you cast your Global Silence, which then refreshes Arcane Curse for a third time. So you're starting to see why this does so much damage, right? That's Silencer. He does a tremendous amount of damage from the position 4 and 5. These next three heroes are not traditional position 5s. They're pretty core to position 4, sorry. They're less likely to be played in the position 5 role. First, we have Hoodwink. Oh, I should mention, sorry, Silencer. I did do a full beginner's guide on Silencer. I'll link it above as well, okay? That will be linked above. Hoodwink. So Hoodwink's a really fun hero because she's extremely mobile, and Hoodwink just does an insane amount of damage at all points in the game and has one of the best stuns in Bushwhack, which does an area of effect stun that's, they have to be near trees, but there's trees everywhere on the Dota map, which is beneficial. And guess what? You can plant your own tree with Acorn Shot, so that's beneficial as well. She's also highly mobile with Scurry, highly escapable through the trees with Scurry, and you have a really fun Sharpshooter ultimate, which is like a skill shot where you essentially snipe an enemy from the tree line. That being said, she has some nuance to the way she's played. First of all, what you generally do is you take a value point in Acorn Shot just to help harass the lane and stuff like that, secure range creeps, do some harassment damage. And then you're focusing almost completely on Bushwhack, taking Scurry as an escapable spell as you need to, like, you know, maneuver. With that being said, you are taking Bushwhack first because it is absolutely insane. It is so good. It is such a good stun. You could literally get double kills in lane thanks to well-timed Bushwhacks. With that being said, one of the best talents in the game is the Bushwhack level 10 talent. This might get nerfed by the time you even, like... This is going to get nerfed eventually, but 4 seconds off Bushwhack's cooldown at level 10 makes this spell absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And basically what you're doing here is you're taking as much regeneration into the lane as you can. You're getting a Sentry Ward so you can block the enemy camp. Bring up Basilius because you do cast a lot of spells, right? Right-clicking is good as a Hoodwink as well, but you want to cast your Acorn Shot. You want to cast your Bushwhack. You're going Tranquil Boots. You want that added speed. You want the mobility so you can move around the map. And finally, you're probably going Solar Crest. Now, Solar Crest is great because Hoodwink, you're so mobile and you're so squishy anyway. If someone gets on top of you, you're probably dead, so the armor doesn't matter that much. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to amplify the damage potential of your carries, which is great. Finally, and it's a bit of a meme. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a bit of a meme. But if you're a new player and you're just getting the hang of it, it's a perfect time to play with a really cool item in Maelstrom Gleipnir. Now, basically, Maelstrom builds into Gleipnir. Now, traditionally, as a position 4, you're more likely to want to try to build towards Force Staff, Yield Scepter, Glimmer. Like, this is all good. Even, like, Aether Lens is great as well. But, listen, it's all about having fun at the end. Hoodwink is one of the heroes that disproportionately benefits from a Maelstrom because Maelstrom can be activated from the Acorn Shot. As Acorn Shot bounces, specifically at level 15 with the extra bounces, you have more chances to proc Maelstrom and Gleipnir, which is great. So you get to do additional damage, which is awesome. With the Gleipnir, what you're getting is you're getting a root effect which allows you to do additional damage and have control in team fights. So not only are you benefiting from the damage potential of the Acorn Shot into Gleipnir, but you're actually going to have a core ability in that root, which is extremely valuable. It's expensive. It's a bit of a meme. You might get some, like, if you're losing a game and guys are like, this guy's building Gleipnir, could have used the Force Staff, bro. Like, that'll happen from time to time. But it's a cool opportunity for you to play with a really interesting item on a hero. But just know that as you get more comfortable with Hoodwink, especially in a support role, you're more likely to want to prioritize these traditional support items over a Maelstrom Gleipnir, okay? Also, it's worth noting, Hoodwink already has good lane clear potential with Acorn Shot into Bushwhack, because the Bushwhack will do damage to the lane creeps, 300 damage, and the Acorn Shot will bounce around as well. So you can very easily clear the waves. You don't necessarily need a Maelstrom or a Gleipnir to clear waves. Okay, and I did do a full guide on Hoodwink. I'll link it above. I've been saying that a lot today. I've made a lot of guides. All right, Skywrath Mage. Skywrath Mage, one of my favorite heroes to play. Now this one here, he's such an awesome hero, and forecastable spells. Forecastable spells. Arcane Bolt will chase someone, providing vision. This one here you can't necessarily control, but it slows people and does a lot of damage. You have a Silence, which increases the amount of damage someone takes from magical spells. And you have one of the highest DPS damaging ultimate abilities in the game. Okay? A very interesting hero. Now let's talk about him, okay? Skywrath Mage. First of all, like everyone else, I did do a complete beginner's guide on Skywrath Mage. I'll link it up above. So if you want to learn him from complete scratch, I got you. Now here's the general build, right? You're focusing on Concussive Shot and Arcane Bolt, taking a value point in Arcane Bolt and Ancient Seal. Concussive Shot is what you want to get early on. It does a lot of damage, and especially in the laning phase, it does a great job of slowing targets. The main reason why it's also very valuable is not only does it provide a lot of damage, but the slow allows you to use Mystic Flare earlier. The traditional timing on Skywrath Mage in the main traditional item progression is double Null Talisman into a Rod of Eidos. The Rod of Eidos allows you to essentially lock someone into place, and as I'm explaining in my guide, the combo is Concussive Shot into Arcane Shot, into Seal, right? Ancient Seal. So now they're silenced and more vulnerable to magic damage while the Concussive Shot and Arcane Shot are actually traveling towards them. You Eidos them in place, and then you Mystic Flare them. So they're locked in place, rooted. They're getting hit by all your spells at once and Mystic Flared with the Ancient Seal magic damage improved. So he's all about improving the amount of damage that you're going to do. Now, before you have Rod of Eidos, it's important that you actually land the Concussive Shot first before you cast your Mystic Flare, because Concussive Shot will slow them by 40%, which makes it harder for them to escape the Mystic Flare. It's also important to note that this is one of the heroes in the game that disproportionately benefits from Quick Cast, meaning that it's a setting in your menu. I'll actually show you fast. Okay, it's a setting in your menu, and I do cover this in my guides and stuff like that. But essentially, I'll show you. So right here, Skywrath Mage, it's very important that you enable Quick Cast here, because what it allows you to do, it allows you to simply, so we level to max, let's get an enemy, level him to max as well. If you just hit the button, it automatically casts. You don't actually have to select anybody. And the reason why that's so important is because of your combo, right? You're going to do this. Oh, it's harder because I can select the enemy here. But you go like this. This is ridiculous. Come on, game, stop doing this to me. There we go. It's annoying because you can actually select the target in the demo mode, so I'm messing it up a bit. But Quick Cast allows you to cast everything quickly without actually having to target it. The only one that I personally leave targeted is the Mystic Flare, because I like, in the event that they move, I like to be able to track them slightly. But the other ones, I just want to be able to hover over them and cast the abilities and then track. See what I mean? Right? So it's very important that you use Quick Cast, so you can actually cast the abilities quickly, or else it'll be very hard to play Skywrath Mage, okay? So he's one of the heroes that disproportionately really benefits from Quick Cast, or else he becomes very difficult to play. That being said, once you complete the Rod of Eidos, you are going Tranquil Boots. Yes, I know, I'm skipping Boots before Eidos. That's how important Eidos is. Aether Lens allows you to cast from further away, and the Aghanim Scepter provides all of his abilities with additional benefits, which is absolutely great. Now, there is a meme build here, which will eventually probably get deleted. Right now, this is this meme build that people are doing. You go 4 Null Talismans into Boots, Aether Lens, just disassembling the Arcane Boots to finish the Aether Lens, building Tranquils, and then going E-Blade. E-Blade allows for spell amplification. It also slows the target by 80% while also giving them hitting them with additional damage based on your primary attribute, which in this case is Skywrath the Mage's intelligence, which is very high. And so basically the 80% slow from E-Blade, which also increases the amount of damage they take from magic damage. And then you add all this on top and people just explode. So it's kind of like this new meme build that people are doing. It's expensive. It's hard to get to because of E-Blade. And you are getting the additional mana cost reduction from the Null Talisman, which has been patched down so you don't get quite as much. It's a diminishing effect. But regardless, people love it. People love it. It's a new meme build going on. So anyways, that's Skywrath Mage. And as I said, I did do a full build, full beginner's guide on him as well. So be sure to check that out. Finally, at position 4, we have Clockwerk. Now, Clockwerk's a little unique because he's kind of like go in first, die, and come back. Like, he's all about just initiating fights. And the way you do that is you have Battery Assault, which is a very consistent stun. It kind of just propels stuns all around him. You have Cogs, which locks people into place. You have the Rocket Flare, which provides a lot of vision. And finally, you have his ultimate, which is Hook Shot. Now, I'm actually going to demo this quickly here because I want you to kind of see how this build plays. But if you have a hero, like, he's all about diving in. And the builds all revolve around how you can utilize his abilities to basically get the CK again. And I'll even show you. So the part of the build includes the jetpack, which is the shard. Basically, what you do is you jetpack, right? Get on top of a guy, you cogs, and you get your Q. And what happens? They can't leave, and you're stunning them constantly, doing damage, and your team's able to isolate this guy and hit him. Now, he can get out eventually, but that's kind of what Clockwerk's all about. A lot of his itemization revolves around him trying to survive these initial, like, bursts of initiation. So everyone's talking at once here. So basically what you're doing is you're speccing Battery Assault early because it is a good lane dominating spell. You get a lot of damage out of it. It allows you to secure kills. Value point in Cogs and Mystic Flare. Hook Shot when you can as well. And everything revolves around vision and being utilitarian to your team. With that being said, you're getting boots early into a wand. You want the wand because you're in the fight. You're right in the middle. You're an initiator. So you're going to get targeted by spells. And the extra burst healing and burst mana you get from the wand is super valuable in helping you survive a little longer. With that being said, you also have the Urn of Shadows, which allows you to basically provide a debuff on anyone you're initiating on. So you initiate, you debuff them with the Urn of Shadows, you stun them, and you do everything else you were doing. Soul Ring increases HP from his strength, increases his armor. It also gives him some added initiation with the added mana, which does not interfere with the Tranquil Boots. So if you pop your Soul Ring, it does not impact the regeneration bonus from your Tranquil Boots. And then finally, you also have your Blade Mail, which is extremely useful. So when you're in those cogs and you're stunning and hitting a guy, Blade Mail makes it so like people just don't want to hit you. It gives you that extra added survivability so you can later kite out and then reinitiate. Because surviving as Clockwerk is a bit of a challenge. That's why the shard is so valuable. You fly up, you initiate extremely well, you got added vision, you have added mobility, and then you basically pop all this. With that being said, the ultimate goal with Clockwerk, specifically in this latest patch, is to build Drums of Endurance, utilize the drums in team fights that you initiate, and then ultimately build a Boots of Bearing, and finally finishing off with his Aghanim Scepter, which is a great one as well. With that being said, in some games, really be aware that you might need a Dust of Appearance to initiate on invisible enemies. You also might need Infused Raindrops to prevent you from getting bursted from damage, magical-based damage. Orchid allows people to, like anti-mages and Queen of Pains. People that can blink out of cogs is something that, like, Clockwerk struggles with. Anybody that can't escape the cogs, he just murders. But anybody that can escape cogs, you might need to build an Orchid and keep that in mind. Outside of that, Clockwerk position number 4, a really interesting hero, and especially if he's like, if you're interested in like initiating and being more of a core part of the fight, he's the hero for you. All right, and finally, we're on to position 5 hard support. If you've made it through this whole video, you are a trooper. Okay, let's talk about these guys. Now, first of all, we're starting with Ogre Magi, position 5. What an absolute beauty hero. If you're new to Dota and you're playing support, you gotta at least try Ogre Magi. He is so unbelievably fun. He is amazing. He's an amazing hero, and he's one of my absolute favorite. And believe it or not, I even did a full beginner's guide on him. I'll link it above like I did the rest. Let's talk about how generally to play him. With that being said, what you're doing is you are taking Ignite fully up front. It does a tremendous amount of damage. It's so hard to lane into an Ogre Magi that has a lot of, a lot of mana. He's constantly casting Ignite. It's just so much damage. You then take value points in Fire Blast and Bloodlust because they're good for utility. This lets you kind of allow your carry to farm faster or to help burst down enemies in lane. And this will help you cancel TPs, secure kills, stuff like that. That being said, the general build, multiple tangos because you're a melee hero. You're getting right into the mix during the laning stage, so you want that added regeneration from the tangos. Into Orb of Venom. The way it works is you basically get on top of someone, you hit them with the Orb of Venom, they become slowed. You cast Ignite, and what happens is they're slowed even more, and then you just keep hitting them. You keep hitting them, they can't trade into you, they're taking damage from Ignite and damage from your right clicks. You have incredible amount of HP regeneration and armor. People just can't trade into you, and you kill them, okay? You are taking some Enchanted Mangoes and Clarities in the lane. With that being said, Windlace, because you want to be able to move faster, you're a melee hero. Arcane Boots, which you then disassemble into Aether Lens. And for Ogre Magi, because this is one of like the absolute beginner heroes, I actually spell it a little better. You buy Arcane Boots, and then you buy the Void Stone, and then you buy the Aether Lens, and then you disassemble the Arcane Boots, and then you build your Aether Lens with the 3 components. And then you finish your Tranquil Boots. With that being said, you also, from this point, now you gotta decide, what's my next item? Do you build Force Staff, Glimmer Cape, Yule Scepter? It all depends on the game situation. And as you become more comfortable with Dota, you'll be able to better determine. Against heroes like Slark or Riki, are you against Clockwerk, right? You want a Force Staff to get away from them, or your allies to push them away. You also, Glimmer Cape, do you want that added survivability? Do you want to be able to go invisible? Do you want the added magic resistance? Do you need to dispel silences? Do you need to like lock down enemies that are trying to TP or run away, right? Yule Scepter can be very important as well. With that being said, an item that a lot of people sleep on is Soul Ring. Soul Ring's great with Ogre Magi. He has a lot of inherent health regeneration, and when you have your Tranquil Boots, it's basically just free regen. So this is pretty good from an intelligence standpoint, from sustaining your mana early on. So you can actually build it like before your Arcane Boots. You can actually build a Soul Ring if you're really short on mana and winning your lane. And don't underestimate how fun Hand of Midas is on a hero like Ogre Magi. Hand of Midas does benefit from multicast, so you can cast it on like multiple enemies at once, or sorry, multiple creeps and neutrals at once, just propelling your game into the stratosphere. So Ogre Magi is so fun to play, guys. You got to give him a shot if you're new to Dota. He is one of the absolute beauties of Dota. Now, not quite as beautiful, beautiful in his own way, we'll say, is Lich. Lich is similar to Ogre, and he's a spellcaster, but he's a ranged spellcaster. And he's kind of, the core thing about him is his team fight potential with Chain Frost. He does a tremendous amount of damage with in team fights with Chain Frost. It is a great team fight ultimate. It has a relatively low cooldown at level 3, while doing a lot of actual damage in slow as well. But he's all about slows and using his abilities to good effect. So this is how you build him. Again, I actually do a complete beginner's guide on Lich, so I'll link that above. Another guide for another hero. Frost Blast. What we got here is we have value points in Frost Blast, and then you are going to max it out by level 7 because of the sheer amount of damage you can do in the lane. You are taking a value point in Frost Shield and Sinister Gaze. You want to have all 3 skills by level 3 because simply each one of them plays specific roles in the laning stage that you'll need to take advantage of. That being said, you are taking Chain Frost when you can, and you are going to focus on your magic shield, Frost Shield duration and reduction. The reason for this is because Frost Shield will allow your carries to end the game. If you're new to the game, right, you're probably going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to be depending on other players a little bit, and that's normal, right? You want your carry to, well, win the game for you. And one of the ways you can do that as a Lich is using and speccing Frost Shield, which generally increases their survivability. Moreover, in terms of main items, because you're a ranged spellcaster, the clarities are just generally beneficial for you as well. You want to use the Sentry Ward to block their big camp. You want the Ring of Basilius because you are basically reliant on your ability to cast spells. Right-clicking is basically pointless on Lich. I shouldn't say that, but you know, early on it's fine, but later on you're never right-clicking anybody. You need the mana. Tranquil Boots, Glimmer Cape because you have no inherent escape, and then finally your Aghanim Shard, which creates a little ice spire that slows people and it allows you to bounce your Chain Frost off it. Finally, into your Aghanim Scepter, which creates an AoE Sinister Gaze, which allows you to Sinister Gaze multiple enemies, and that's great because you can Chain Frost using your shard into the spire while Sinister Gazing them through it. It's absolutely tremendous. With that being said, optional items include Aether Lens. If you're new to the game, I really recommend you build Aether Lens, which allows you to be a little further back while casting your spells. It'll keep you really safe. And if you're getting jumped on by like PAs or anybody just right-clicks you to death, be sure to build a Ghost Scepter, because when you activate it, they basically can't hit you for 4 seconds. You're more susceptible to magic-based damage, so don't like build it against a Lina or something like that. But overall, it does help you survive against PAs, Wraith Kings, and stuff that are more synonymous with right-clicking people at lower MMRs. Regardless, that's Lich King. He's a lot of fun, and it's all about team fighting with your Chain Frost. When you have your Chain Frost, you're going in, you're getting involved in the fight, okay? Now, Position 5, Shadow Shaman. One thing I should mention as well, I should have mentioned this before, but all of these heroes can also be played at Position 4. I think I did mention that. Shadow Shaman, this guy's a fun one, and he is one of the best disablers in the entire game. He does damage and has Wave Shove with Aether Shock. He can Hex people, which prevents them from using items, casting abilities, or doing pretty much anything. He can then Shackle them, which holds them in place while healing himself. And then he can take towers and objectives with Mass Serpent Ward. This guy can do it all. In fact, would you believe that I've made a beginner's guide on Shadow Shaman that I will link up above and in the description down below. Anyways, in the laning stage, you're focusing on leveling up Aether Shock. It just does too much damage, 320 damage across multiple targets. It allows you to shove waves, it allows you to secure kills. It's just too much damage to pass up. It doesn't scale well into the late game, but you do take it early. You're taking value points in Shackles and Hex, focusing on Hex first because its ability to be disabled with the inability for them to use abilities or items is very important. In my guide, I explained the different combos: Hex into Aether Shock Shackles or Hex Aether Shock Wards Shackles. It all depends on the situation you're in, but it's important that you stack these in a way that allows you to lock people down for an extended period of time. The main item progression is pretty simple. You are going Arcane Boots into Aether Lens. You want the additional cast range into Tranquil Boots. So once again, you disassemble the Arcane Boots, you build the Aether Lens, you finish that with Tranquil Boots, and then you gotta build the Aghanim's Shard as soon as you can. It increases the range of your shackles and provides additional wards. 4 wards when you shackle somebody. It allows you to farm very quickly. It allows you to push waves because the wards will sit there and push attack like creeps and stuff like that. Super valuable. That being said, once you complete this main progression, it's up to you to decide what the next stage of the item is. Position 4 will often go for Blink Dagger. It allows you to blink on someone, Hex, Shackle, and basically do your combo. Glimmer Cape gives you some added escape. Force Staff, useful for every other reason, same as Ghost Scepter, sorry. His Aghanim Scepter is super greedy. It makes the Mass Serpent Wards even stronger, but if you get there, you get there. And the Aeon Disc, which is common across supports, basically prevents you from getting bursted from 0. Regardless, here what you're doing is you are taking talents that maximize your ability to disable and lock down targets, which is key as a Shadow Shaman. And the 4th position 5 hard support is Omniknight. Now, Omniknight is one of those heroes that has seen an absolute resurgence in the meta. He's not traditionally been a hero that you see in a lot of these beginner guides because he kind of like falls off. Like he's kind of just been falling off the meta, and now he's back finally. Omniknight 5 is a real thing again, and it's taken a few changes, so let's actually talk about it here. So first off, his Hammer of Purity used to be his shard, now it's a core ability, and his Degen Aura has now been brought to his shard, which is like, it's okay, it's not great. Long story short, you're focusing in on Purification here. With Purification, you are going to be maxing that out first. It does pure damage to all enemies, pierces spell immunity, heals your allies while dealing damage to enemies. It's awesome. It's just a great ability. You are taking your value point in Hammer of Purity. It does pure damage as well. Has a slow, does some base damage. It's great. And your Heavenly Grace, which is a tremendous dispel, honestly, is absolutely fantastic. So that's exactly what you want to be using. From there, the core build, it revolves around one core item, and that is the Boots of Bearing, otherwise known as the Bongo Boots. You are getting to the Boots of Bearing, and how you get there is up to you. But essentially, the main build is, because you're a melee hero, you're often going to be like near the front lines a little bit. So you're going to be using a Magic Wand into Tranquil Boots. Infused Raindrops help to solidify your mana pool while also providing you with protection from burst magical damage. Soul Ring's great because it allows you to solve your mana problems. He is a strength-based hero, so it solves your mana problems while also not defeating the bonus regeneration provided by the Tranquil Boots. From there, drums into the long wait until Boots of Bearing has a very expensive recipe. That being said, there are some alternative ways that you can approach Omniknight. You can build him with a Ring of Basilius to help solve some of the mana issues, although Soul Ring does do a really good job of that. You can do your traditional support-based items, but the core 2 that I think a lot of people really enjoy playing is Holy Locket and Aether Lens. You do them together. The only thing about Holy Locket is that it really only truly benefits Purification, so just bear that in mind. It only really benefits one specific spell on Omniknight. I mean, theoretically, like, it's a good item, but... realistically, like, you don't get as much benefit as, like, you might love to get from it, but still, it's pretty good. The core thing is you want the Bongo Boots. That's the meta is right now. Overall, Omniknight, pretty solid in the meta, a really good hero. Takes some positioning to get used to because of the fact that he's a melee melee hero, but overall a very good hero. And finally, we're going to the last position 5 support. We are talking about Jakiro, the dragon, the two-headed dragon. Jakiro is a mainstay of Dota, recommended to many new players, and for good reason, primarily for 2 simple facts. First of all, he has a stun. Now, the stun is a little difficult to land. It has a high cast point, and so, it takes some, like, it takes some practice to actually land it. From there, he also has Dual Breath and Macro Pyre. Now, what's amazing about Jakiro is that with Dual Breath, you are able to actually clear waves and defend objectives very effectively. Jakiro is able to create a lot of map pressure thanks to his ability with Dual Breath to clear waves, push creep waves in, and effectively create some map pressure. Macro Pyre is phenomenal for defending objectives. You TP to a tower, you Macro Pyre, and you basically write off that whole area of the map. Enemies can't fight into it. Liquid Fire allows you to essentially take towers and objectives because the slow impacts towers. So, and especially when you kind of get that into the Aghanim Shard, which is exactly what you want. Sorry, I should rephrase myself. With the Aghanim Shard, Liquid Fire becomes an absolute monstrosity against buildings, right? So it's insane what the Aghanim Shard and Liquid Fire can do. The way I kind of phrased that was a little awkward, so I want to correct myself there. But anyways, long story short, he is such an amazing hero. He's such an amazing hero. And actually, it's funny because I'm actually using, and I'm showing you, the support Jakiro guide that my good friend Zequixotics designed. And Zequixotics is a Jakiro spammer. He's an absolutely amazing support content creator. You should check him out as well. I'll actually link his guide so that you can check it out, and his video guide as well, because his content is absolutely fantastic. If you're a support player, I really recommend that you check it out. Regardless, guys, that is the beginner's heroes for Dota 2. This is a long video, and you know, I made it so that like you could kind of pick and choose where you wanted to go within it using the timestamps. Regardless, guys, thank you so much for watching, and a very special thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers. If you want to see more, I really recommend you check out this Builds of the Week video I'm linking above, because honestly, it's a really good one. I think it'll help you, and it helps you stay on top of the meta. We'll see you there.